All right, guys, welcome back to the eHunter podcast. I'm actually joined by Seth again on this podcast. Seth, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm back at it again.
Welcome back to the podcast. Had to do it solo last time, but I had to get that podcast out. It was bothering me, but glad to have you back. This is gonna be a fun podcast that we're doing tonight. So we did a Instagram live just a little bit ago and kind of asked some of our folks that are on there like what the most underrated hunting cartridge is. And if you guys have been on the website lately, you've seen that we posted an article about the most underrated cartridges for hunting, and we've got a lot of comments on it, a lot of feedback on it, and yeah, we want to chat about it. Some of the comments that we got back, we want to talk about those. We'll probably call a few people into the podcast tonight and get their thoughts on it, but we wanted to just kind of talk through what everybody is putting out there and some of these underrated cartridges. But before we do that, as always, we want to thank our title sponsor, Vortex Optics. Sure appreciate them and their support. Everything that we do here at eHunter, they're a big supporter of us and have been since the beginning. So really appreciate all the guys over there. They're great people and support us. So check them out, vortexoptics.com. Also check out Onyx Maps, another huge supporter of the podcast as well. And lastly is Manscaped. Seth, you using your Manscaped stuff?
All the time. Got to keep the beard nice.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Got to keep the undercarriage nice. Got to keep it all nice. Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Dude, those products, man, I know it sounds weird, and I'm not just saying this because they are a sponsor of the podcast. Like, if you buy like a cheap Norelco, or I don't even know, is that Norelco? Is that the word? Is that the brand?
Yeah,
that you buy like at Walmart or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, they're okay, but they got nothing on Manscaped stuff. Like, I was talking to my wife the other day about the nose trimmer, and she's like, "Are you serious? It's that much better than than something else?" Oh man, it's crazy, isn't it?
So much better. My old one, I literally threw it away. Like the Manscaped one cuts and so much cleaner and closer shave, and it's not like, even with the nose trimmer, it's like the old one would, every once in a while you'd get that yank where it just pulls the hair out instead of cutting it away. Yeah, that drives you crazy when that happens. So Manscaped definitely is a nice way to go when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. All their stuff is good, and you can get like a I don't know what you call it, like a subscription thing to it, where they like keep sending you some of their products month over month, like
monthly subscription box, or whatever.
And that's actually a pretty cool deal. I mean, it saves you actually a lot of money in the long run if that's stuff you're going to use, and that stuff's awesome as well. So, yeah, check it out, Manscaped. Use the code eHunter, EHUNTR. At checkout, get yourself 20% off and support us here at the podcast. So we appreciate all the support. And so, a lot of people have asked, like, how can we support you guys? How can we help like get more stuff out there and do more things? And, a lot of them are like, oh, we can't be writers, or we can't do this or that. But, little things like that make a huge difference to us guys. So make sure you subscribe to all of our stuff. Use our discount codes, stuff like that. That definitely helps support the podcast, the website, and everything. So all right, let's jump into it, Seth. Let's grab our drink and let's talk about guns and cartridges. I'm drinking oh, you're not a soda drinker, are you? Man, it's too bad.
No,
I'm drinking a Mountain Dew Spark tonight.
I've got a liquid IV tangerine in my water.
You gotta chew that stuff.
No, you gotta mix it up, dude.
Man, no. I mean, you mix it up, but I feel like when you mix it with water, like I feel like when I drink that liquid IV, it's so thick. I feel like I've got to chew it like it's goo.
You just keep spinning, keep mixing. You're getting it where it's too thick, or you add more water.
I was gonna say I probably just need to add more water to it. I'll stick to my Mountain Dew. But this Mountain Dew Spark is pretty dang good.
That'll definitely hydrate you right up.
Yeah. It's gonna make me have to pee like 10 minutes into this.
And then your pee will be about neon green.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I haven't drank much soda lately, but I went to the store today and I found this Mountain Dew Spark, and it's pretty dang good stuff. I think it's been out for a while, but it's pretty tasty. So, but let's talk guns. So, like I said, we just did an Instagram live, and I just asked some of the people, like, what are the most underrated cartridges out there? Oddly enough, and maybe they read our article. I'm sure some of them did. It was pretty obvious that I think some of them did. But they just kind of started coming off the cuff with some of the guns and cartridges that they felt like were underrated. And so I kind of want to kick it off by one of the ones that Diego brought up with he's a Main Beam Addiction on Instagram, and he brought up a 25-06. So this was my first. Have you ever owned a 25-06, Seth?
No, but I've always wanted one. My cousin had one growing up, and for whatever reason, I've always wanted a 25-06, but I've just never ended up getting one.
They're just a really cool gun, and really like the ballistics of it is actually it's pretty impressive with some of the ammunition that they have nowadays. But I think for me, like, because I got it when I was, because back then in Utah, you couldn't hunt until you were 14. So probably when I got it when I was like 13-ish. Mm-hmm. And, as a kid, you're always worried about, okay, how bad is it going to kick and all that stuff. And it was, of course, a Ruger M77. If you guys haven't listened to that podcast, go listen to that friggin' podcast. The Ruger M77. But so it weighed like as much as that gun safe over there weighs. Anyways, but it had hardly any kick, and I killed a lot of animals with that gun. I killed coyotes, deer, elk, cow elk. I mean, you name it. I killed it with that gun, and so I really can't say it's anything bad about it.
No, I mean, truthfully, if you look at it as a modern hunting range, like if you look at the ballistics during hunting yardages, it performs actually, truthfully, slightly better than the 6.5 Creedmoor out to 500 yards ballistically on a lot of these ammunition options. Mm-hmm. Usually the Creed surpasses it as you push beyond those, what I would call extreme ranges, 600, 700, 800. But that 100 to 500 yard range, it outperforms that Creedmour. Mm-hmm. So
it needs more. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get people riled up already.
Yeah,
but
get it.
It is a very comparable rifle to a lot of the 6.5s because, I mean, let's be honest, 6.5 and .257 are pretty dang close.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's basically the same diameter, 257
basically the same. Right. Right. Metric versus standard.
Yep, but exactly.
The main point being is it's not in the forefront of a lot of people's minds when they start looking for a lighter hunting rifle, like a lighter calibered hunting rifle. But if you are the kind of guy that's going to be consistently shooting 500 yards and in, which I would suggest is probably most hunters, mm-hmm. It's a really, really good option.
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. And it's an older, well, considering, I mean, comparing it to some of the other calibers that are out there, it was introduced in 1969, and they basically just took the 30-06, necked it down to that 257 or 6.5 caliber, and just to get the better ballistics, the velocity, the speed out of it, that they were hoping to get, and they did. And so you're right, Seth, like 0 to 500 yards, I mean, it's going to shoot very flat. It's going to pack a punch. The other cool thing is in that 6.5 or that 257 caliber, you can, there's a lot of bullet ranges that you can get. I was looking in my, in my reloading books. So I've got the Barnes and the Berger and the Hornady and all those. And I was just looking at different varieties for the 25 caliber, or also that 6.5 caliber, because that's basically the same thing.
Same thing.
And there's a big range. And I think that's why, maybe not why, but when they started inventing the 6.5 Creedmoor and these 6.5 calibers, I think that's another reason why, because you can shoot a very light bullet. You can shoot a pretty dang heavy bullet with it. So, like I said, when I got mine, I wasn't reloading back then, but I would buy a lighter bullet for coyotes, and I'd buy a heavier bullet for elk, and it killed everything and everything in between.
Yep. Yeah, the cousin that had his for years, he reloaded 117 grain Hornadies and never did anything else.
Yep.
117s for everything. So
that's a great bullet. But then you can also go up to a 140 grain, the
Yeah.
those trophy bonded, those 140 grain trophy bonded bullets, and kill elk and deer and everything with those.
Yep.
So such a cool gun. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a kid's gun." Well, not really. Not even just a kid's gun. I mean, it is a great kid's gun. I've really thought about that for my boy. He's 12 and we're going hunting this year, and I hope we're going hunting this year anyways. And 250 or a 25-06 would be a pretty cool gun for him. Not in a Ruger M77. So
I've seen a lot of older guys actually ditch the Magnums as they get older, and I guess I don't know, a little more recoil sensitive. I've seen older guys ditch the Magnums and go back to something like a 25-06.
Mm-hmm. That's a smart move. Like I said, when I was a kid, it hardly kicked at all. I didn't have a muzzle brake or anything like that on it.
It's because that Ruger that you complain about was heavy.
Yeah, that jack handle. Yeah.
Hey, when it's heavy, they don't. The heavier they are, the harder they're going to be to push around. So,
Yep. Yeah, actually, I was thinking about. I don't know if it was 140 grains that I put in that. Maybe it was I think it was the Sierras. Was it 135s? The 140 is what I used in the 708, but I think it was the 135s that I used in that one. Anyways, I digress. But cool. There's a big variety that you can use in that. I think there are probably 140s that you can use, but
I'm sure. Well, I mean, truthfully, as long as you've got, and our reloaders and our wildcatters will know better, but as long as you've got the clearances, you can put whatever grain bullet you want in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the good thing is, a lot of these heavier grain, it's obviously a longer bullet, and so what you'll find is you're actually going to improve your accuracy with those bullets too.
Right.
You get it out there closer to the lands, and it makes it a better shooting gun. Man, I was back then I was a factory bullet guy, and they all shot great. So maybe it was just the shooter. That's all it was.
Right now, tell you or my cousin want to be my reload guy, because I'm not the reload guy.
You need to become a reload guy.
I just buy nowadays it's so different than 20 years ago. 20 or 30 years ago, your off the shelf options were Remington core lock, and there was some variance there in all the manufacturers, where now you have these precision hunters from Hornady and your Federal terminal ascents that are a lot more high quality.
Yeah, for my wife's 708, I just buy pretty much those precision hunter bullets from Hornady and go kill stuff. That's such a good bullet, and it shoots so well. So I think that's the only one that I really just buy. Well, 30-30, I just buy bullets for that too. But speaking of 708, let's talk about 708. That's another one that you haven't had, right?
No.
So on the live, my wife is actually one that pointed that one out, and rightfully so, because it is definitely an underrated cartridge. It's one that not many people think of. And I said this on the live, but my father-in-law, he really worked up that 708. He actually improved one of his 708s, and with that actually improved 708, like seriously, he wasn't very far off of my 7 mag as it relates to like muzzle velocity and stuff like that, which is absolutely crazy. That cartridge, that case just allowed for it, to do that. So it's a little bit, compared to the 25-06, it's a newer one. I mean, it was developed in the 80s, but it's one that I think it got a lot of attention there for a while, and then it's kind of fallen off. Does any of your family members use 708?
No, and that one was kind of funny on the article. I got a wide range of both. I got people telling me that, yeah, that's a great pick, and it is underrated. And then I was told by several people that, oh no, the 08 super popular. I don't know what you're talking about. So
what?
Yeah, it was kind of in the middle of people arguing back and forth quite a bit, but I know of several people that, like, friends that have had them and like them quite a bit, but I've never had any experience up close with one.
So I'm not going to say I'm a gun guy. I'm not going to be that guy, but I love guns. I absolutely love guns. And so when I'm out hunting, like when I go to Colorado, elk hunting, we always run into people from Tennessee and Mississippi and all these places. And I always ask, hey, what you shooting? It's just, it's kind of fun to just ask people what they're shooting. And maybe it's just because it's fun. It's fun because it's to me, because it's interesting to me what guns everybody's shooting. But I have never, and I've asked hundreds of people. I've asked 100 people what gun they're shooting while we're out there elk hunting or deer hunting. When I'm in Colorado deer hunting, or here in Utah deer hunting, or whatever. When I go hunt with my buddies, I'm always like, hey, what are you taking? No one has ever said a 708. So for those guys that think it's pretty popular, maybe you live in a different world than I live in.
Maybe in their circles.
maybe. And that's a good point. It could be, if you were to, in my circle, in my family, yeah, we have a bunch of 708s. It's mainly because of my father-in-law, what he did with them, but still, it's. I think it's a very impressive cartridge, similar to the 25-06. It's got a parent cartridge that is necked down, so obviously 708 comes up from the 308, and they just necked it down to the 7 caliber or the 284 caliber, just to increase that velocity a little bit, do a little bit of a few different things with it. But again, similar to the 25-06, it's great for people that are worried about recoil. There's no recoil, hardly any recoil with the 708 compared to the Magnum cartridges. Still has the knockdown power. Again, a wide range of bullet sizes that it can shoot and shoot well, depending on the. I did find this, depending on the twist on the barrel of your gun, will definitely impact how those bullets shoot on a 708. But I guess that's pretty much most guns. But I feel like it's done it more with the 708 than other guns.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's I've known one of our previous riders, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
He shot everything with his 7M08. He never used any other gun. Whitetail, axis deer, all that stuff.
Interesting. And for those guys that are 270 lovers, I don't know if you've ever looked at it, but the trajectory of a 708 is very similar to a 270. So a lot of people will will fight you fist to cuff saying that the 270's got one of the best trajectories and does all this and that and the other. Well, this one actually shoots very, very similar to it, and then you actually improve it, and it even makes it that much better. So.
Well, and the benefit there is if it's very similar to the 7mm08, almost always has reduced recoil in comparison to the 7mm08.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The other great thing about the 708 is there is brass everywhere. It might say 308 on the back of it, but there's brass everywhere for that gun. 308 is one, if not, well, 223 is probably up there too, but one of the most popular cartridges out there. And so if you walk to any sporting goods store and look at what they have on the shelf, even like coming out of COVID, I feel like 308s and 223s were the first things that were put up on the shelves. So I
agree.
You're always going to find brass for 708.
And on a side note, because you brought it up, just remember, folks, you don't hunt with a AR-15 because there'll be no meat left. That's what your politicians tell you.
Don't get me going again, Seth.
I had to, because you got me going with your political post.
My goodness.
Did you see that the last 3 days? People talking about how the reason people don't hunt deer with an AR-15 is because there'd be no meat left. And I'm like, who's gonna tell them?
Yeah,
that it's a 22, guys. That's what 223 stands for. It's a 22 caliber. It's going real fast, but it's a 22. Gonna make the reason you don't hunt deer and big body game with it is because it isn't gonna penetrate very good.
Exactly. So I saw who was it that posted something about that? It was somebody making fun of the people that had said that, and because they were talking about and their excuse was, you're gonna shoot it so many times with the AR-15. Every time you shoot, you're gonna put 20, 30 bullets in it. And I was like, you can pull the trigger once. You can still pull that trigger once and shoot one bullet. You don't have to shoot all 30 bullets. I don't think I don't know. But our president, no, never mind. I'm not even gonna do it again.
We digress.
Go listen to the other podcast.
We'll focus on hunting guns and.
So the 223 is underrated. Is that where you're going with that, Seth?
No, I was just bringing that up because you brought it up and I had to chuckle about it.
Oh, well, I brought up the last two. we have quite a few on the website, but we also some people talked about some others on the live. Which other ones did you kind of want to talk about?
Um, so a couple people reached out to me, and I don't know if you saw any of these on the live, but and I don't know where to stick this one, but I've had a few people bring up the 243.
So that one did come up on the live.
Okay, it might have come up before I hopped on, but I'm I'm not sure where to stick it because I think at one point in time it was a very popular smaller cartridge, but now I really don't know what to think.
I think
Um,
I think it's underrated now, and I think that's because of the shadow of the 6.5 world that came in. Because people are going to try and put those in the same class. At least that's with the conversations I've had.
yeah, I mean that makes sense because I kind of agree. It was probably much more popular, and then uh, the 6.5's popularity has kind of pushed it to the side. But um, for a smaller deer cartridge and coyote gun and small game gun, it's kind of like Taryn said, it really fits well into that with several different bullet grains.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of guys that'll tell me all their stories about how they kill elk with them all the time. I think you're pushing the boundaries as an elk gun, but a deer and a smaller game gun, I think it has a really good groove right there.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time using a 243 on elk. I wouldn't feel like it's got the punch, that BC that it would need for an elk. But
Right.
I don't know. But for deer, it's a very great cartridge. That's the thing is these underrated cartridges that we're talking about. A lot of them can be used on a wide variety of animals. This is one that could be used for coyotes. It could be used for whitetail. It could be used for all deer. Pronghorn be a great round for pronghorn. So
Yep.
At 243, I feel like, it was really popular. I think in yours and my childhood, I felt there's a lot of people that shot 243s. But I think as we come into the 2010s, 2020s, that it's kind of gone by the wayside because of the 6.5 movement.
Yeah, I think it and another one on our list that 6.5 has really displaced is the 6mm.
Yeah. Yep.
I think both of those were much more popular. I know growing up in deer camp, we had one 6mm and one 243. And nowadays you go to that same deer camp and it's 6.5 PRC or 6.5 Creed and 7 mag and 270, and that's about it.
Isn't it interesting that nowadays we have to have a gun specifically for every animal that we hunt? Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Like if you go to someone's gun cabinet, they're gonna have, oh yeah, that's my elk gun, that's my deer gun, that's my antelope gun, that's my coyote gun. When you really in the 6.5 days, the 243 day or the 6 millimeter, excuse me, 6 millimeter days, right. The 243, the 25-06, it was just there's my gun and it does everything. Like my grandpa, he had, and I talked about this on the live, but he had a 257 Roberts and he had a 270. 257 Roberts did everything except for, and actually it did kill a lot of deer too. He used it for deer as well, but then he used the 270 for elk. So that's just, and he had those two guns, and that pretty much that just did everything that he needed, and he killed a lot of stuff with those two guns.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my dad's the same way in similarity. I mean, he doesn't really small game hunt, like he never has, but he's won, I can't tell you how many guns at shoots and banquets, and one or two of them he keeps because they're pretty. But by and large, he just turns around and gets rid of them because he's like, I have my 7 mag. I'm not going to do anything different. I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah.
And so he's the same. I mean, if it don't matter if it was an antelope hunt or a moose hunt, he's just going to go grab that because that's his gun. You know what I mean? There's no need to have a 300 or a whatever. You know what I mean? He just has that 7 mag, and he's always shot light grain for cartridge. He shoots the 139s, and is never changed and will never change.
Yeah.
But that's just, I think it's an older mindset. I don't know, we could dig into that more, but I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure why that is. But yeah, he just is like, nope, that's my gun.
I don't know. I feel like the world that we live in today, we've got to have everything. We've just got to
Yeah.
have everything. We're just gonna buy everything, and it is what it is, and we got to have every single gun out there. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm the same way. I like to fill up my gun cabinet. I like to go shoot different guns, and I love to have variety. So it's not a bad thing. But I feel like back in the day, they had one gun, and for some people, it was the 243. Now, so Seth, I believe the 243 is a 308 cartridges casing as well, isn't it?
That's a good question.
I think the
think so.
243, the 708, and the 308 are all the same parent cartridge. If I remember right, I might be speaking way out. There's probably somebody yelling at me somewhere
No, I
right
think you're
now.
right. I think you're right. Yeah,
Okay.
because it was developed in the 50s, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they brought it out, that was its whole goal. We kind of talked about deer and small game, and I think that's when they developed it. That was the goal they had in mind,
Mm-hmm.
was to take a gun that could do both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the Winchester 308 case,
Yeah.
neck down.
That's crazy. That's just another. I've never done that. I don't know what the process is on that. I don't have a 243. So my father-in-law had a 243 short mag, and that's the funniest little bullet you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah,
It's like
the
a little,
little squishy one.
yeah, a little fat little thing. At least it looks fat because it's so short. Cool little gun, great, and I've seen him kill deer with it. But yeah, I don't have a 243 to even compare it to. But yeah, I thought I remember that being the parent case was that 308. So great case. I mean, it's a great casing. Works for all these different ranges, and yeah, you can really do a lot with that 243. So let's talk about a little bit bigger caliber. I want to talk about that 280 Ackley improved. I feel like it's coming back a little bit. Are you feeling that same way?
Yeah, I think it was kind of that. I don't know. I think it was popular, getting popular. Then it fell on its face with the release of the 6.5 PRC a little
Mm-hmm.
bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of started to get popular again. And now they've released the 6.8 Western and the 7 PRC, and so I don't know if that's going to force the 280 Ackley back down, or if
Maybe.
it'll kind of stay where it is.
It's really comparable. Like, I follow a guy on YouTube. It's called Backfire TV. He's a local guy here in St. George, and he did this thing called Cartridge Wars, and I think that he had the 280 Ackley improved, the 28 Nosers, 7 Rem mag, and one other in that same category. And I was actually really impressed at the stats on the 280 AI. Like it really actually it actually performs very well. Now, again, you compare it to the 28 Noser, it's not going to quite do what the 28 Noser does, but it is going to be very close to the 7 mag. It's going to be very close to the 270. The 280 Remington is going to be, obviously very similar to that. So if you're looking for something like that, I don't think you could go wrong. I guess the only thing I don't ever see the 280 Ackley improved. I don't see the ammo boxes on the shelves. Have you ever looked for those and seen those?
Oddly enough, the only time I've ever seen them, they're usually in Remington Core Lock. You know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
I don't see a lot of them in like the
The Precision Hunter or something like that.
Precision Hunters or the Terminal Ascent
Mm-hmm.
or any of those like higher end uh off the shelf brands. But off the shelf brands that I have seen it's usually a Remington Core Lock box.
Yeah. Yeah, just thinking about something. I wish my father-in-law was here for me to ask this question, but what guns can you Ackley improve? Because I know you can do a 223. Obviously, know you can do a 708. The 280 Remington Ackley improved is the 280 AI.
Yeah.
Can you do most
I don't know.
cartridges?
I would assume there's something, and like say I'm not a wildcatter, but
Yeah.
I would assume that there would be the ability to actually improve a lot of them.
Yeah.
But they are funny. I mean, you look at the picture of them, and boy, that is a really short, steep neck down. You know, like the case
Oh, the
angle.
shoulder. Yeah, the shoulder on it is
Yeah, the
very steep. Yeah.
shoulders. Yeah, it's
Or
really steep.
yeah. Is that the right word for it? Is it steep or is it not
Or
steep?
maybe
It's
flat,
not steep. Yeah.
I guess that's
I never
it's,
messing
it's
it up.
short.
Yeah.
I guess the term is that it's not a long. I don't know the angle because it is so short. You can't really see the angle, but it's not a long shoulder. It's a very short shoulder, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting round. And I guess my point, I've always thought about the 280 Ackley improved. And my thoughts have always been, well, it's very similar. I think if you look at the stats on it, it's probably like 50 feet per second slower than the 7mm, the Ram mag, I mean, the 7 mag. And so
Right.
at that point, it's like, well, you might as well go with the 7 mag. It's going to be a similar recoil. You're going to get a little bit, just a touch faster with the 7 mag. And I think the ammo availability is going to be way more with the 7 mag.
Right.
So
I think the Ackley really scratches that it for a guy that is a big reloader. That is kind of that callback to the Wildcat days. Because you can use pretty much any 7mm bullet you would like, heavy, light, come up with your own combinations, and it's got the Wildcatter's name tattooed right on the gun you're shooting. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Going back to the shoulder, I think it's a steep shoulder because that's all Ackley. They're all very steep, and that's what makes them Ackley improved. It allows you to put more powder in there, so it's a steeper shoulder.
Okay,
that's going to bother me.
Correct term. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, they're real short. They don't extend out like a lot of the other regular bullets.
The more we talk about this, the more it makes me want to be a Wildcat. I'd love to create my own round, and it'd just be so fun to do this and see what you can do.
They're trying to make a bomb.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Were there any more? Any other ones on the list that you wanted to chat about? That I mean, we had a lot on there. The 224 Valkyrie was one that just nobody ever talks about.
It's fairly new. I think it's kind of almost unknown. It's an underrated round, and it very kind of scratches that same itch as the 243.
Yeah,
to an extent. But you brought up big ones. Let's talk about the biggest one on the list and tell me what you think. The
375.
Yeah, the 375 Ruger though, not the old H&H, but the newer Ruger that was developed in the mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people, I think when they see the 375, that's what they're going to do is they're going to go to the H&H and be like, oh man, that's an old school gun. But the Ruger, it's a stick of dynamite. That's what that thing is.
Yeah,
that thing is huge. But yeah, I think it was created like mid 2000s. I think right about the time that, or maybe just shortly after I graduated high school. I don't know when you graduated high school, but I remember
about that same time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when this gun came out, and there was a lot of talk about it, and what they were doing. It was kind of like that wildcatting time, and when they created this and what it could do, and it's based off the 300 H&H mag. Is that right? 300 or 375, or is that the same? That's actually the same casing, isn't it?
I think they're both the same parent case.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some quick research actually and just see if they both, because I think you're right. I think they were both off the 300 H&H.
Yeah. I believe they are off that 300, that 375 H&H, which I love the 300 H&H mag. I mean, that's just my family kind of has a history with that. But the cool thing about this cartridge is you can shoot such a big bullet out of it, and you still have a lot of speed, which is super impressive.
I actually want to read the statistics off this
yeah,
gun real quick.
It's going to blow people away, so do it.
Okay, so this big hoss is shooting, so this is an offering from Hornady from it, but it's shooting a 270 grain interlock SPRP, which I think is their Dangerous Game Series bullet. Velocity at muzzle is 2840. And you're like, oh, okay, that's fast, but it's not otherworldly like
but
some
how
of these
big's
other
the bullet?
It's 270 grains. So there you go. And here's the big one. So obviously at the muzzle, that's you know, you're not usually shooting things at the muzzle, but at the muzzle, it's 4,800 foot-pounds of energy
Yeah.
leaving the muzzle. So it's obviously a hunting range or hunting yardage gun. Like it's at 100 to 500 yards, but it is putting a wallop on whatever you're shooting, which is kind of what they developed it for.
Yeah.
They developed it for dangerous game in both North America and Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your coastal brown bear, your moose, your polar bear, your lion, black death, Cape buffalo, stuff like that gun, and and that may be some of it. So there's not a ton of us that are suiting up to tackle those kind of almost exotic or not common game animals, but you want to talk about an elk gun that would bury him in the dirt.
Oh man. Oh man. That's like shooting a 45 caliber muzzleloader on steroids.
Yeah, it's it's a big boy, but I think that's the main reason it's and to an extent the 375 H&H has lost popularity. I think it's just because, at least in the US, I know that 375 H&H is used abroad extensively in a lot of places, but I think the main reason they're underutilized is that a lot of people aren't continuously chasing these big and dangerous game animals.
Right. It's a rare thing that you're doing. It's not something that you're doing frequently.
Right.
It's a cool bullet though. Like if you go on our website, there's a picture of the bullet. It's the Hornady Dangerous Game Series bullets there, and man, it's a brute.
It's got that same real steep shoulder that the Ackley Improved has too. You can see in the picture.
I kind of want one. I don't know why.
You gonna shoot an elk with it?
I don't know. Well, you got your 4570. Why do you have your 4570?
I'm gonna shoot an elk with it someday.
See, I can shoot an elk with it. See, that's what I do with it. I'd shoot an elk. If I go bear hunting in Canada, I'll take that with me.
There you go.
See?
Oh, it would put Smoke City on a black bear.
Oh, wouldn't it be cool?
It'd be a bad day for that black bear.
Oh yeah, yeah, that would end things quickly. But it's so fun. I wonder what the recoil is on it.
Oh,
be really interested to put the recoil foot-pounds on that and see what it is.
I wanna do it. You've got it in my head now.
Oh yeah, it's gonna hurt. I'll just say that it's gonna hurt on both ends. But sometimes that works. It's like the 4570. Sometimes it's worth it to have that hurt on both ends.
Are you ready?
Oh geez,
I just pulled it up.
How much?
45 pounds of felt recoil.
Oh my gosh, what's the 4570?
Not that much.
No, 45 pounds.
I'm pulling it up right now to see what it compares to. Yeah, it's got a lot of powder in it. It has to be. I'm gonna pull it up real here.
That's crazy. That is unreal that it's that much.
That's a wallop and a half.
That's a man's gun right there, gentlemen.
I'm gonna find some. I'm gonna find some guns that are
I think
comparable.
I think the 4570 is only like 32 pounds or 34 pounds or something like that. If I remember
comparable, that 378 Weatherby mag.
Oh, that's one that Monty put up there. Yeah, that 33 or 330. Yeah, 33. I think Monty
338 Ultra mag is comparable. The 340 Weatherby mag is comparable.
Man, those are some big old guns. Golly,
it's
crazy.
I wanted to find the 4570 to see what it was.
I believe I looked it up when you got yours just because I wanted to see what it was and how bad it kicks. I really think that it was like 32 or 34-ish. Low.
38 if you're shooting the hot bullets that I'm shooting out of it.
Oh, okay.
So 38. So that's still.
But that's mag. That's a hot bullet. So regular bullets. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's still 7 pounds more than my hot bullets that I'm shooting out of.
That's a lot. 7 pounds more is a lot. So.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
That's
guys,
a ripper right there, gentlemen.
yeah, you guys need to go on our website and check that and look at the pictures of that and get familiar with that. That one's cool. So
It is. Yeah.
I want to call a couple of people and get their thoughts on what their underrated cartridges are, hunting cartridges. So I've talked a lot about my buddy Chad on this podcast. He's been on a lot of our videos on our website and stuff like that. I'd like to get his thoughts on it. You care if I call him in, Seth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see here. I guess I better turn the volume up so we can hear him.
Hello?
Dude, what are you sending me vacation stuff for here? You keep texting me about vacations while I'm trying to record a podcast.
Yeah, I know. It just shows up in the mail randomly. Ken's like, Sarah sent this.
Hey, I'm down for another vacation, but we got business to tend to tonight. You're live on the podcast, so don't say anything inappropriate.
Oh, hey. Okay. You know me.
Yeah. I know I do. Yeah, you wouldn't say anything bad at all. So, hey, we're talking about gun cartridges or hunting cartridges, I should say. And some of the most underrated cartridges, some that, have kind of gotten forgot about over the years, or it could be even a new one. Like we talked about the new the Valkyrie, that's a newer cartridge, but nobody talks about it. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain on your thoughts. Like, do you have a gun, or friends have a gun that is kind of that underrated cartridge that nobody really knows about, but it's an amazing cartridge? Listen up, hunters and outdoorsmen. You've been living in a tent, roughing it in the great outdoors for over a week while chasing bucks or elk or whatever. Your beard may be coming in nicely, but there's one area that needs some attention when you get back home. We're talking about your nether regions, fellas. That's where the Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped comes in handy. This tool is designed to tackle even the wildest of forests while keeping your precious gun safe from any mishaps. With a ceramic blade that won't nick or snag and skin-safe technology, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the ultimate way to clean up down there after a week of roughing it. It's waterproof, so you can use it in the shower when you get home. You could use it in a lake, or I guess even if you get desperate, you could use it in a muddy puddle. So when you finally make it back to civilization after weeks in the wilderness, make sure you've got the Lawnmower 4.0 waiting for you. Your family jewels and any lady friends will thank you as well. Use the code eHunter at checkout and get 20% off of any item. Again, that's eHunter, EHUNTR, at checkout and get 20% off any item.
Just like in general, or like specifically for deer or elk or just whatever?
Really in general. We've talked about coyote guns. We've talked about, deer, elk. We just talked about the 375 Ruger for dangerous game. So yeah, just kind of in general.
So I actually have a 25-06 that I love.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not a great elk cartridge. It's legal, but it's not a good one. But for deer or any other smaller game, I've had my kids shoot it because it's very flat shooting, very forgiving, but it's basically, it's a neck down 30-06, which is also a great round. So I would have to say that.
How long have you had that?
In my mind.
How long have you had that 25-06?
Actually, I bought it right after I got married.
Oh, okay.
Probably 18 years.
Wow. So wild.
Yeah.
Nice. And how, did you have a lot of guns before that, or was that one of the first guns that you owned?
That was actually one of the first ones. Yep. Actually one of the first ones that I bought. It was on sale at Cabela's, and I was like, let's try that one. So yeah, I've had it and killed a lot of deer with it. It is heavier. It's not nowadays, you get the super light stocks and stuff like that. So, which is also makes it good for my kids to shoot because it's stable. But I don't backpack with it a lot.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, going on a deer hunt for a day or two, not doing too much hiking and stuff like that. I mean, it's good to lug around for that. Solid. What
kind of gun is it? What brand is it?
I want to say it's Savage.
Savage. Okay. So yeah, that about 20 years ago, they'd be a little bit heavier. I mean, they make some now that are super light, but
oh yeah, no, I've got a 308. That's one of their their ultralights and stuff like that. Yeah, it's Savage, but that's awesome. I want to say one of the first years, I think they might have put the AccuTrigger out not too long before that. I don't know how long they've had that out, but it has that, and yeah, it's good. I got a good little pulled scope on there, and
We'll fix that. We'll fix that for you.
Yeah. I know. Gotta throw a good vortex on there.
Yeah. There you go. No, I had a loophole scope on my old 25-06. I was talking about earlier. That was my first gun that I ever had, was a Ruger 25-06, and man, I killed a lot of deer. I did kill elk with it. Killed coyotes with it. I killed everything with a 25-06. And we were talking about earlier, like, I feel like nowadays we've got to have a gun for everything. You know, like, I've got to have my elk gun, my deer gun, my coyote gun, my pronghorn gun, whatever the case may be. And back in the day, I felt like, the old school guys, they had like 1 or 2 guns, and they just did everything. And the 25-06 was one of those guns.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's guys out there who be like, yeah, I've hunted elk with it. You know, it's not much different than 270.
Right.
And, yeah,
that's
I think you're saying we have a problem now, Taryn.
Well, we do. We have an addiction. We build
that kind of arsenal.
Hello, my name's Taryn, and I have an addiction. I like to buy guns.
No, it's fun. It's fun to have different cartridges. It's fun to shoot them. You know, different things. But yeah, I mean, that's, you start talking underrated or just even forgotten about cartridges. You know, things that you've seen all these new ones come out, but you still got the old, 30-06, 270. 308.
Yeah.
Been around for a long time. Old military round, very reliable.
But there's something about like we got to have the new, the latest and greatest kind of a thing. And so we always feel like, oh, this new 7 PRC, we got to have that. Or, it's funny how we think, and, back in the day, it was just, it worked, and it worked well. 25-06 worked well. 30-06 worked well. If you had those 2 guns, same casing, but you could kill pretty much every animal out there with those 2 guns. So crazy. Well, appreciate you you answering the phone. We're going to get quite a few people's thoughts on what their most underrated cartridges are. Maybe we can bring a little bit more love back to some of these cartridges that have been forgotten. So I'll let you back to looking at vacations and just plan one and sign us up for it.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
Cool. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
He's a cool dude.
Pretty funny that's one of the number one ones we talked about in the beginning, and he picked it out.
It came up on the live. I think it's one that people love, and it's hard not to love it. But when people are going to go buy a gun right now, they're not going to go buy a 25-06. They're going to go buy a 6.5 PRC. It's so weird how that works.
The truth. You
got another one we want to call and ask?
He's working. He texted me, but yeah, he's not available to pick up the phone, but he texted me and said that the 243 was his pick.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha. Well, I'm just looking here on the live just to see what everybody put on there, because we did the live just before we started recording the podcast. I wanted to just get everybody's opinions on them, and so oh boy, you're gonna hear me talking in the background as I'm clicking on the live. But yeah, pretty much, I think we kind of covered all the ones that people put on here. So we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on more of this. I think this is a great conversation. I think we need to kind of keep some of these cartridges alive. Don't let them die off. They're amazing cartridges, and I think we need to use them and take advantage of them. If you're buying a gun for wife, a kid, yourself, whatever, I think some of these smaller calibers, older calibers are great, and there's a lot of components out there to reload these. A lot of them are easy to find on the shelf as well. I think there's even guns. I think even the 7 mag, I know people are going to freak out about this, but it's becoming an underrated gun because some of the other calibers are coming out. And so, I think even some of these guns that here just recently have been the most popular guns, I think in the near future are going to be the underrated guns here in a few years.
And they'll always be, because of that military application, you're always going to see the 223 and the 308 be the highest selling gun. But when it comes to hunting application, I would argue you're starting to see that 308 dip. The 223 never really had a large hunting following. You know what I mean? Like maybe rabbits here and there, but like that 308 for a long time was what people hunted with. And I think you've seen that start to fall away too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. And it's the latest and greatest, and that is everything. You know, the new iPhone comes out, everybody's got to go get it, except for Seth. You know, I think that's just the world we live. We just got to have the latest and greatest, and some of these things that are so popular right now, in a few years, they'll kind of be forgotten about. But I think a lot of these we shouldn't forget about because they're pretty impressive stuff. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and end this podcast. But please, you know, leave us some comments. There's tons of posts on social media and whatnot about this stuff. Would love to hear your comments on those. So go on there, leave a comment on the web, on the podcast, whatever platform you're on. We'll see those comments. But we'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are on the most underrated cartridges out there are. So, Seth, anything else we need to talk about before we sign off?
I think you've covered her pretty well. And yeah, like Darren said, hit us with some messages. Tell us some new ones. We can always revisit it and see if we've missed a couple.
I'm sure we have. There's a lot of guns out there. I mean, there's a lot of guns out there, a lot of calibers out there. So I'm sure there's a lot that some guys like, man, I love this gun. I use it for everything. And, you know, can't believe you guys forgot it, kind of a thing. So love to know those, and kind of just gives us that list, a bucket list of some other guns. Now I want a 375 Ruger for some reason. I don't have no idea why, but I really want one. So anyways, guys, we sure appreciate you listening and following the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, leave us a review, all that fun stuff. Follow us on our social medias, and check out the website as frequently as possible. I highly encourage you to be on there every single day. Lots of stuff going up every day. So appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the next one. See ya.
See ya.